Lovable.dev is a startup that helps you create apps and websites with AI, and they've just released an update that also allows you to connect up to many of the tools you use. While MCP is a relatively new thing, the inclusion of tool calls through Lovable isn't simply like using them in a code editor, since Lovable does a lot more under the hood to make apps and websites work. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to set up connectors like Notion and N8N and start using them. Let's begin. On lovable.dev, make sure you're logged in and then head to settings by selecting your avatar on the bottom left and selecting the settings button. To connect to an MCP server, head to connections. For my first example, I want to connect to Notion, where I have the documentation for a new website design. This is one of the easiest to set up. I'll select connect and continue, and that's about it. Heading back to the settings, I can see that the Notion MCP server is now enabled, which means that a Lovable's agent now should have access to utilize it as part of the prompting. Let's see how we can use this. Inside of Notion, I have this project board for Cleon's Adventure, and I need to create a website for this game. Since Lovable now has a direct connection to Notion, it should be able to pull in the details for the project itself, the storyline, and anything else. You can see here it's requested it to pull those Notion documents. I'm going to set it to allow, and here it's now figuring out all the context it needs to create this website. I let this run for a couple of minutes and it's generated this website here for the actual game. You can see that it's got that cyberpunk theme, and a lot of the documentation that was inside of the Notion document has carried across to this website itself. So while traditionally MCP servers that are used by things like ChatGPT or Anthropic Claude are pretty good at doing tool calls, the one here from Lovable is a little bit different. Since Lovable is focused in on creating apps, IDs, and websites, it's able to pull a lot more information and use it more wisely when it comes to doing MCP requests like this. With that in mind, let's have a look at how to set up one more MCP server. This time, I'm going to set up N8N, since this is a very popular type of tool that I'm seeing a lot of developers use to create automations in the workflows. For N8N, we're going to connect up a server URL to the MCP server in lovable.dev. If you're already logged into N8N, head to the bottom left avatar, head to settings, and head to MCP access. Here, we're going to start off by enabling MCP servers, and this is just the very first step in order to be able to do this. Heading back to lovable.dev, we're going to copy this server URL and paste it right in here in the server URL section. We'll add and authorize this, which will connect lovable.dev now to N8N, and you can see that connection enabled. Great, so this is the first step. The second step is to figure out exactly which workflow in N8N we want to utilize for lovable.dev to access. You can create a new one using AI, or you can use an existing one, but the important step here is to head back to the dashboard in the settings section and enable MCP to access this specific workflow. This can be done in the settings sections on the workflows themselves, and you'll know it's worked if you head back to the settings panel, head back to MCP access, scroll to the bottom, and see available workflows on the MCP server right over here. Here inside of lovable.dev, I can now request it to use N8N to create an automation and connect it to the website to pull news articles. Now I'll need to allow using this tool call, and I'll set it to always allow so it can update in the future. And I can see it going through and updating the website files, integrating the N8N workflow into the website design itself. Let me confirm this by checking the code itself, and here is a special component which accesses the N8N workflow directly using a fetch request and pulls in news articles from the automation I created earlier. A big thanks to lovable.dev for sponsoring today's video. If you want to learn more about their tool calls and some of the tools they'll be adding, check the link below. I do know Perplexity as well as 11 Labs are on the list, 11 Labs being a really cool AI voice cloner that I've used before, as well as things like Firecrawl, Exa, and Miro.